Coming up in this episode of the Unusable podcast,
Occam's razor,
Google's redesigned icons,
millions of leaky toilets,
and Henry Hoover's cheeky little eyes. Hello and welcome to the Unusable podcast, where we discuss the importance of user experience in technology and the world around us, and talk about great design that just works, or moan about it when it doesn't. Yeah, Andy, I've got an idea. Mm-hmm. Why don't you say that last bit? And then, so I say, we talk about great design that just works, and you go, or moan about when it doesn't.
Okay, let's try it again.
No, that was it. That was me doing an impression of you.
What do you mean?
We'll do it next time.
What do you mean, on the next podcast?
Yeah. that can be the intro.
I feel like it's a missed opportunity.
All right, okay.
Not to do it now. Why are we waiting?
All right, fine. Welcome to the Unusable podcast, where we discuss the importance of user experience in technology and the world around us, and talk about great design that just works.
And moan about it when it doesn't.
Are you doing an impression of me doing an impression of you?
Yes. Was it good?
I mean, it was flawless. Absolutely flawless. Right. Hello, Andrew. I think you need to introduce yourself.
One more time, but seriously? Or are we?
No, that's it. You've had your chance.
Okay.
Okay. My name is David Ball. I'm a front-end web and app developer.
And my name is Andrew Waite, and I am the product owner of a software product.
Good. How are you, Andrew?
I am spiffing, thank you, David. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad that we're recording this podcast, because I don't normally get to talk to you. I mean, I could call you up any time, but I've always got some technology rants to talk to you about, so I feel like I need to save it up. That's why I don't talk to you. That's why I don't ring you.
I was beginning to think that you just didn't like me, but
I'm saving it up.
Saving it up for when we've got a microphone in front of us.
Yeah, exactly. Right, what are we talking about today?
So, I thought we might talk a little bit about Occam's razor.
Okay. Have you got a good definition?
I do, but is it worth explaining first what a razor is?
It's something that shaves things off.
Does it?
No, well,
I mean, I'm not talking about literally.
Okay, so we did a video about Occam's razor.
No,
we briefly touched on.
Didn't we do? We did a video about Hanlon's razor.
Oh, sorry, it was Hanlon's razor. Okay, so am I not right then that a razor? Because Occam's razor is, I don't know. You tell me.
So Occam's razor, according to Wikipedia, that old trustworthy source, is the problem-solving principle that entities should not be multiplied without necessity, or more simply, the simplest explanation is usually the right one.
Okay, right. The simplest explanation is more likely the right one.
Yes. So if there's a simple answer for something, then don't overcomplicate it.
Okay.
Is Occam's razor. It always reminds me a little bit of Sherlock Holmes. So, the simplest explanation for the truth is probably the right one.
Is that what Sherlock says?
No, but in a Sherlock Holmes book or TV show, if you remember, is it Hound of the Baskervilles, where people think there's some sort of rabid dog monster thing?
Yeah, there's like a glow-in-the-dark dog monster.
And of course, in order for that to be true, there would need to be the existence of this creature which clearly doesn't exist and is impossible, and all these things. Okay, but actually, the simplest explanation is, I can't even remember what it ends up being, but it's very not supernatural. It's very, it's a natural.
I think it was quite convoluted.
Yes.
So what's the actual quote? If you eliminate the impossible, then whatever remains, even if it's improbable, must be the truth. Yeah.
But that's not Occam's razor. Occam's razor is.
Oh, okay.
The simplest explanation is usually the right one. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And we can apply that to the field of UI UX design.
Yeah. And all of technology, I suppose.
Yeah, and correct, all of technology, in that, we don't need to overcomplicate things. We are solving problems for users. The simplest explanation is usually the right one. The simplest solution is usually the right one. Mm-hmm. We don't need to overcomplicate things.
In technology, especially if you're, like me, asked to build things like websites, software problems, solve problems with software, that sort of thing. I suppose it is important to keep things as simple as you possibly can, because if you the thing is, if you start making a really, really complicated solution, you're going to hand that over to somebody who's going to be like, oh God, how do I use this?
Yeah. I think often as well, if you work with clients, they often get carried away with the possibilities and features, and they'll say, yeah, we want it blue and red, and we want the title big, and we want this on the left and this on the right. And I think it's really important to bring it back to Occam's razor and say, no, what are you trying to achieve? What's your end goal?
Yeah.
And then apply Occam's razor and say, well, the simplest solution is the best one and the most effective. So let's, cut the cruft, or let's try to organise these thoughts. And let's get to the simplest possible solution.
I suppose I'm trying to apply this to website design. And so a lot of what I build has to be responsive in that a website needs to work on browsers of all different sizes, devices of all different sizes, things like that. And so if you have a really complicated looking design, you've then got a hard task trying to fit that on small screens, for example.
Yeah.
But if you have a fairly simple design in the first place, then that might be easier to make it work across all screens.
I mean, think about this. The simplest. I think we've spoken before. I can't remember if it was on a podcast or a video, but we've spoken before about a website built in pure HTML. With no CSS is accessible. It's responsive. It just works beautifully, and that is a really good.
I think some people might have definitions of what is beautiful, though. I mean, completely functional and it works, but I don't get clients ringing up saying, "Can you make a website in just pure HTML, please, with a white background and bright blue links?" Nobody wants that. It works. It 100% works. But it's, I don't know, people do want something a bit more designed than that, a bit more functional than that. I think the key is to keep it as simple as possible and don't let it get, not everyone needs Facebook or whatever.
No, but I think as soon as you start to stray too far from simplicity, you run into complexity. And it's not just true in the design, it's true in the build as well. If you think about, having a really complicated design, like you said, that increases the complexity of the code, doesn't it? If you've got the world's most beautiful design on a desktop, but it's not simple enough in that it doesn't work responsively, then your code complexity increases because you've then got two versions of it and you've got all that extra overhead to worry about, whereas you could just...
I have to then write in all these exceptions where I say, how do I give a good example? This design is full width, except when it's larger than this amount, then it's not full width. The headline text is this size, except when it's on a small screen, in which case it's this size. And so having to go through all of those exceptions when you're looking at the code is quite complicated. It can be complicated if it's like 6 months down the line after you've built it and you're looking at it going, oh God, how does this all work again? Where have you gone to? Oh, are you getting a beer?
I was just grabbing a beer. Sorry.
What are you drinking?
I've got Camden Hells.
Camden Hells.
From the Camden Town Brewery, which
nice.
is a nice beer.
Oh, good. I've got some Brothers Toffee Apple Cider.
Ooh. Do you know...
Oh my God, this is so sweet. I've got to be careful with this. Last time I had some, I had like this insane sugar rush. And I felt like I was going crazy. And I just like opened the front door and I just ran. I just ran out really far. I almost ran to Denby.
You'll have no teeth left drinking that stuff.
I know.
Oh, cider I find too sweet as it is, let alone toffee apple cider.
Yeah, I know. It is very sweet.
So I've got a slightly different definition here of Occam's razor.
Okay.
So this is from the very beautiful website lawsofux.com, which if you haven't seen this, I would very much recommend that you go and take a look.
Okay.
And they say that Occam's razor is this. Among competing hypotheses that predict equally well, the one with the fewest assumptions should be selected.
Okay. Now that's just saying the same thing using different words, isn't it?
I think so, but I'm just exploring the different definitions that are out there.
I suppose all that means is kind of more guidance. It's more practical guidance, isn't it? It means that if you've got some options, you're presenting the options to a client or you're presenting some options to your boss or just to yourself, you've got some things to choose from. Always choose the simplest and not the most complicated. Mm-hmm. In fact, I've known plenty of programmers who get really excited about like a new functionality or a new plugin or using a new technology or something like that. Whereas maybe it's not that. Maybe that would just be too complicated.
A common problem I find is developers that want to make an abstraction that isn't necessary because they're trying to predict ahead for for a future that may never occur and does never occur. Yeah. I think it's noble. I think what they're trying to do is with good intentions.
Hang on, maybe can you possibly explain what that means to an idiot like me?
Let me try and think of a good example. So let's take a really, really stupidly simple example in code. So adding two numbers together.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we set out in our project, and our project is to build a system that adds together 2 and 6.
Yeah.
Well, the absolute simplest solution to that is to go 2 plus 6. But that's hard coded. In the future, if we decide in the future that we want to add together 9 and 11.
Yeah.
So what we might then do is abstract it. So we might say, actually, instead of having code that can just add together two specific numbers, we're going to make code that can add together any two numbers.
So you'd put those two things into variables, I assume. So you'd put
those two. You'd put
first
those two
number,
things,
second number.
Yeah, you'd put them into variables, and then you'd have a function that adds together any two numbers. Now that is really sensible abstraction, and you might do that because obviously it takes you no longer than just really than writing adding together two numbers. But my point is, if all you ever need to do, if the spec of the project is to add together, say 2 and 6, and you've got no intention,
just get it done,
and you've got no intention of ever doing anything else, then why add the complexity of a function that abstracts it? Yes, you're being very clever and predicting something, but that may never happen. And I think it's a judgment call. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we should.
Yeah, because sometimes this is very sensible to abstract things because, especially if you're working with clients, you might not know. Well, I mean, not even with clients. I mean, you just don't know what something is going to have to change.
But that's my point. But that's my point. I've in many times in the past, I've seen very well-intentioned developers add complexity to try and future-proof something, and then later on, what changes is not what they expected to change, and so
you've actually just added this complexity to not solve that problem, and it's made it more complicated.
Yes, it's made it more complicated to change in the way that we need it to change, because there's now more code to refactor. There's now more things to change, whereas because they were trying to predict something that never ended up happening. So it's a really difficult balance to strike, because you can end up in the opposite problem where you've just fixed something so rigidly that it's impossible to change it, or not impossible to change, but a lot harder to change it. But I think it's really important to predict. I think it's really important to specify what is going to change and work out what is going to change.
Yeah, and
just build your solution to that and no more, because otherwise you're over optimizing for something that may never happen. And I think that to me is a really good application of Occam's razor, is to just say, no, we need to just keep it simple. If all we're doing here is adding together 2 and 6, and there is no requirement now or on the near horizon to do anything else, just add 2 and 6. We'll fix it later if needs be. But I think a lot of that goes contrary to what a lot of developers like to do. They like to come up, a lot of developers like to come up with smart solutions that maybe aren't necessary.
You said keep it simple there, and I'm pretty sure I've said keep it simple plenty of times in my career, but I didn't realise there's actually a design. Keep it simple, as in KISS, KISS, is actually a design principle, and it says on Wikipedia that it's noted by the US Navy in 1960. So it's like the idea of just keeping it simple is not just a thing that we say. It is.
Well, hold on a minute. KISS has got 2 S's in it.
Yeah,
KISS.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid, or keep it short and simple, or keep it small and simple, or
the one I know is the insulting one. It's keep it simple, stupid.
It's very arrogant.
Yeah, well, that's the one I know. That's what I was. I don't know where I picked it up from, but
I like the one which is keep it short and simple, because I don't know, less insulting. You can also apparently say keep it simple, sailor. So if it's a design principle noted by the US Navy, then I don't know, maybe it's important to keep the sailor in there.
Do we have to give a salute?
You have to give a salute whenever you say it. Sailor. You have to say keep it simple, salute.
Yeah, I like this quote from an article by John Jablonski on Medium. By only introducing complexity when it is necessary, we can ensure that our designs stay lean and void of superfluous elements that do not add value to the user experience.
Okay, that's good.
Do you want me to messenger you that so you can digest it? There you go.
You think I need to see it written down to fully understand it?
I don't know. I'm just you looked a bit vacant when I first said it, so I thought I'd
Do you not notice that I do that a lot when you're talking?
Yeah. So someone that I recently have been doing a little bit of reading about, and who I've got a lot of respect for, is a man called Dieter Rams. Do you know who he is?
No.
So he is a German industrial designer, and he is very, very well known for products that he designed for the Braun company.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so he's done a lot of product design in the past, but he was a very, very ardent proponent of keeping things simple. And a quote of his that I really like, in fact, I like it so much that I've got it on my desktop. I'm going to show it you now.
Oh, okay.
This is my desktop wallpaper, a quote from Dieter Rams.
Oh, can I read the quote?
Yeah, go ahead.
Less, but better.
Yeah, so
Less,
Dieter
but
Rams...
better.
Dieter Rams really believed in this less but better. So let's try and do less. And this is actually something that I've been trying, and with varying levels of success, to apply to what I do, because I have a job role that spans a lot of different disciplines.
Yeah, okay.
And sometimes I find it very difficult to focus and grow. And to become better, because I'm just doing so much. I'm so thinly spread. So I'm trying to apply this and live by this motto of less but better.
Thinly spread like a little Andrew Butter. I can't believe it's not Andrew. Okay, good. What were we talking about?
I've no Dieter Rams. So just about Occam's razor. I think he's his design is the embodiment of Occam's razor.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
exactly what you need, no more. Very, very functional.
Less but better. But thing is, if we work less, we still want to be paid for the more, though, don't we?
No, I don't think it's about working less. I think getting to the best solution takes longer. What's that famous quote? Something like, I wanted to write you a short letter, but I didn't have time, so I wrote you
I think
a long
it's
one.
I think it's attributed to quite a few different poets, but yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, because being concise is quite a lot of work sometimes, isn't it?
Definitely. Again, something that I've been doing very recently is writing copy for our new website, and trying to convey the message concisely is incredibly difficult. You end up wanting to write everything, especially when you're passionate about what you do, like I am. You end up wanting to say everything, and so you have to be really, really brutal in cutting it down. It takes a lot of time. If I had a lot of space to write, and I knew that people would be willing to sit there and read all of my ramblings, it'd be easy.
I assume you're not writing a blog post, though, are you? You're talking about the content on the homepage. You know, the gripping marketing text that needs to be really short and sucks someone in.
Yes, exactly that.
Sucks someone into the website so that they can be running around like Tron.
What? I've never seen
Tron. You never see Tron? He goes into the computer and he has to fight the master controller or something. I can't remember. He says a really good thing. He's inside the computer. He says, "I fight for the user."
Oh, I should watch that.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about...
Well, I mean, it's terrible, but there are connections between computing.
The only thing I know about Tron, I think it's Tron, is the two coloured motorcycles, red and blue.
Yeah, that's a part of the film.
And wasn't that referenced in one of the Daft Punk videos? I think there's a recent Daft Punk video that references that. Another Dieter Rams quote: "Good design is as little design as possible."
Oh, wait. What does that mean? Are they talking about design as in the process of getting to a solution, or are they talking about the end result? Because a designer doesn't just come up with an idea then knock off for the day. A designer spends time and effort coming up with some kind of solution, and sometimes it takes a long time to come up with the simplest solution.
Yes, I am definitely applying some interpretation, because I don't know where this quote was from, and I don't know the background to it, and I also don't know. I'm applying my own context to his quote.
Yeah,
but I strongly believe that what he means by that is not as little design process as possible. I think he means, that as minimal actual pen to paper, or as little components to the actual finished result.
Okay, so he's creating a nice, simple product.
Exactly right. I mean, if you think about things that came out of the Braun company that were designed by him, they are incredibly simple products, aren't they?
What does Braun make? So like
All
hairdryers
sorts
and
of
stuff.
things over the years. Calculators, record players, a lighter.
Razors,
Yep.
electric shavers, Occam's shaver. I've got a story about technology going wrong in my own home, and it kind of relates to this. I was going to kind of save it for the rigmarole later on, but I might tell you now because it's relevant. So we've got a toilet in our house. In fact, we've got 3 toilets in our house, which is
All mod cons. Hold on a minute.
toilets.
Hold on a minute. You've got 3 toilets in your house.
I know it's a tiny house as well.
You've got
Like every other room's a toilet.
You've got more toilets than you have people.
I like to have choice. I like to have options. So anyway, it's a fairly modern house, and all these toilets, when they were fitted with a drop valve system. Now, I've had to look this up because it's gone wrong. In fact, all 3 toilets, pretty much at the same time, have all gone wrong. And what happened is. In fact, there's an article on the BBC about this very technology. So this drop valve system was introduced to save water, essentially. It has 2 different buttons, one for a short flush and one for a long flush, right? But the problem is, the technology seems to be completely flawed because the BBC article that I found about it says that these kind of toilets end up wasting loads more water than they're ever to save because they go wrong so often. And it says the volume of water loss is getting bigger every day as more people refurbish and retrofit their older toilets. So as people install these toilets, we're actually losing more and more water because the technology, by the look of it, seems to be completely flawed. But yeah, in the UK, there's 400 million litres of water just completely lost because these toilets are just dripping.
So it's designed to save water.
Yeah.
But the added complexity of that design
Exactly. The added complexity
leads to the failure.
Which
then actually leads to the opposite of the intended design, which is wastage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, that's a brilliant example of the unintended consequences of design.
Yeah. So if they just kept it simple, a simple bog standard bog.
Mm-hmm. Bog standard bog.
At that.
Well, hold on. You froze, and I was kind of more. Yeah. I was trying to. Yeah, it did. Sorry, it didn't go in to start with because I was like,
the internet has ruined my joke. A bog standard bog. Thanks for your pity laugh. Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of instances of overcomplicated design having the opposite effect to what was intended, aren't there?
Yeah. Well, I've just given you an example of one. Have you got more?
I did, and I've now forgotten. Oh God, what was it?
While you're thinking about that, can I tell you about my rigmarole to fix this blooming toilet?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so I wanted a plumber, and I wanted a local plumber. I know that there's one that just lives down the road, so I googled for plumber, found his number. You know how Google Maps, you know how Google brings up on the search result like a map result and like has the big buttons call and directions and all that sort of thing.
Don't get me started about this. The rise of the no-click search.
The rise of the no-click search
is a whole topic that I don't want to. Yeah, let's not start me on that one.
All right, fine. Well, anyway, for the average user, that's dead useful because it's pulling the information out of the websites right there onto the front page of Google. Brilliant. So I press call. I call him, and I speak to the plumber guy, and he goes, "Yeah, great. Just send me some photos of the toilets, and then He says, send me the photos of the toilets on WhatsApp, and I'll get back to you later about them. So I assume he needs the photos so that you can order the parts or whatever. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And so I open up WhatsApp and I add the number that I've just called him on, and nothing happens. It doesn't say it's failed, but it also doesn't add the number to the WhatsApp call list. And I feel like a bit of an idiot, really. I didn't know how WhatsApp worked. And I could have rang him back and just said, hold on a minute, how do I add you on WhatsApp? Because the number's just not appearing in my WhatsApp message
can
list.
I predict what happened here?
Go on then.
See if I get it right.
Go on then.
So was Google listing a tracking redirect number so that the call could be tracked, and then when you tried to add it to WhatsApp was going, this isn't his actual phone number? Is that what's happening?
That was one thing that I did think could have happened. Now, most people probably wouldn't think of that as even being something that would happen. Turns out...
Well, no, most people wouldn't even know that was a thing, that they were tracking phone numbers.
Exactly. So that's the reason why I told you this whole process so far, because that was in my thought process as well, is that, because some services do that. I can't think of any, but anyway, in this case, Google wasn't. Google was listing the number. It wasn't redirecting it through some other number or anything like that, but it was listing one of his numbers. If I went to his website, he's actually got two numbers. One looks like a landline, and one looks like a UK mobile number. So I was like, right, okay, well, I'll just have to copy and paste the mobile number, because you can't use WhatsApp on your landline, as far as I know. That's a bit ridiculous. So I try and copy and paste the mobile number. Guess what's happened? His phone number is on an image on his website. It's not text. It's on an image. So I can't...
With no alt text, I bet, as well.
Well, I'm on my mobile. I'm on my phone. So, I mean, I can't really inspect the alt text. Or I don't really know how to do that in Chrome on a mobile.
I don't think you can, but
what I had to do was, I had to write it down using a pencil and paper like a flipping caveman.
How ridiculous is that?
Yeah, and then I sent him the photos.
Is it fixed? Is it the most important thing? Is it fixed now?
No, he's not even got back.
Can you have a poo?
He's not even got back to me.
So what are you doing in the meantime if all your toilets have broken?
Oh, they still work, but they just leak a bit. This is the thing. This is why I said on the article, it says that 400 million litres is just going to waste. Because the toilets aren't broken, they're just all leaking.
So, talking about Occam's razor and simple design, I think that applies to the design of the iPhone, doesn't it?
Oh.
So,
okay.
I must admit, I'm not the world's biggest Apple fan. I'm sure many of our listeners are or aren't, and it's one of those things that gets a strong feeling, evokes a strong feeling, doesn't it? Apple.
Don't set people off.
I know, but you cannot deny, whether you like Apple or not, that the iPhone is a beautifully simple design. It is a flat, what is it? Like it's a flat.
It's a
piece
screen.
Of glass.
It's essentially just a screen. That's
it's just
all
a
it
screen
is.
with one
That's
button.
All it ever was.
It's got one button on it.
Yeah. So the very first, you're talking about like when it very first came out, just how much of a huge deal it was, because phones had like 1 million buttons and they were getting increasingly more complicated.
Yeah.
And then Apple just came out with this thing that was essentially a tiny little TV with one button. But what they did, they really simplified things, didn't they? Because it was quite common at the time to be able to send picture messages. But when the iPhone came out, you couldn't even send a picture message.
No, it was common when the iPhone came out to have a 3G internet connection on your phone, which made those crappy little mobile pages that you could visit on your phone. It made those quite...
No, are you talking about WAP?
Fast. No, after WAP, the early days of proper web pages on a mobile.
Yeah.
But you had 3G, so it was quite fast. And the first iPhone...
Was it 2G back then?
Well, which was a bit stupid, really, because all of a sudden the iPhone came along and you got this great big colour screen. So really, it had the capability of showing a much richer web experience, and yet it was only 2G. But obviously what they'd done is just pared it back to the minimum. Or actually, I think on the 2G thing, that must have been because they needed to just get it to market and 3G would have taken longer or something. It feels like
I don't know. The skeptic in me thinks that it'll be so that Apple can announce it later, going, "Now look, we've invented picture messages." And everyone's had it for ages, but
that is exactly what they did. That is exactly what they did. The first few years of iPhone improvements used to wind me up something chronic, because they'd go
just inventing things that we already had before.
Yes,
claiming...
they'd go iPhone now 3G, and it's like, hold on a minute, 3G is like a 5-year-old technology. Like, what? That's not new. iPhone now with picture messaging. You're like, what? My old Nokia could do that. Like, what? But
FaceTime. Hold on a minute. We've been able to video call for ages.
yeah.
Just that nobody uses it.
Yeah,
because it's just a bit. Yeah.
Slap a marketing name on it, and all of a sudden it's the latest and greatest. But you obviously can't deny the success of Apple and the reasons why. But I do think that one of the reasons for their success is that they apply Occam's razor to everything that they do, and that simplicity of design of, the fundamentals, nothing more.
Yeah.
really holds true for Apple design.
They could have really complicated that interface or the amount of buttons on there or whatever, but they really thought about just keeping it simple. I will admit that.
I'm going to go off on a random tangent here, and I'm sorry.
Oh God.
Do you remember Nokia's? Yeah. Sometime just before the arrival of the iPhone.
Yeah.
A lot of them used to have something which I think is missing on modern phones, and I sorely miss, which is a physical camera shutter.
Oh yeah.
So I had a run of Nokia's where you would have a camera shutter and you'd click it across, and that would do two things. Well, first of all, when it's closed,
it protects your lens.
Well, it protects your lens, but also you can be absolutely assured that nobody's spying on you, or if anyone's hacked into your phone, it's not going to work, is it? Or you can't if
you're like at the toilet, you're sure that no one's using it to spy through.
Yeah, I don't want people spying on my business.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other thing that it did, which I thought was super cool, is that because you're taking a physical action to open that shutter, is it also used to activate the camera as well. So rather than needing a button or an app or whatever to activate the camera, you could literally just flick across this little shutter, which is on the camera, so it's really obvious what it's going to do, and your phone would just wake up and go to the camera app.
I've completely forgotten all about that, but yeah.
What a brilliant thing was that, and what a regression have we gone through, because now I don't think any of the modern phones that I've had have that feature. They've got just a permanently exposed lens to be scratched and to take pictures of me when I'm naked and don't realise it's recording me.
Yeah, exactly.
And in order to activate the camera, well, there's a shortcut on Android, but it's annoying. You have to double press the power button.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you can double press the power button really quick and it'll open the camera.
Oh, right. Didn't know. But yeah, I know a lot of people are worried about security, and I've seen people in the office put post-its over the camera, so just so that they absolutely know it's not going to take photos of them when they don't want to.
Yeah, webcam hacking is a thing, isn't it? Hacking into people's laptops and spying on their cameras.
Let's not scare people. Oh my God.
No, I know.
Can I tell you, Andrew, about our Twitter followers?
Go ahead. Do you know what this week?
Are you going to say?
This week I am not going to do anything apart from say hello to them afterwards.
Oh, what? You're not going to say hello to every single one?
No.
Oh, it's going to be really awkward. It's just going to be me saying some names. Right. I'm going to do it. We've got Charity Mbaka, Jay Akut, Neil Montez, Daniel McKenzie, Salma Afzal, John Hurley, Ali Mead, Mattia Navachia, Andrew Lutz, Josh Force, Patrick Garvin, Helen Zek, and Mark Bowley.
Hello, everyone. This is your welcome to our podcast. It's good to have you on board.
Oh, on board the good ship Unusable. Don't think you'd want a ship called Unusable, would you?
And on that note, shall we set sail to the Isle of Bad Usability Nightmares?
We can do. Ready?
That was the most Alan Partridge thing I've ever said in my life.
I know, it was brilliant.
Oh, I think we should try and do more like tacky links like that between
absolutely,
segments.
It was brilliant. Ready? 3. 3, 2, 1. Bad usability
nightmares.
I haven't got any, I told you about mine earlier. Have you got one?
Well, hold on a minute. I thought you'd got something about a hoover and all sorts.
Oh, I can tell you all about my hoover, yeah. Sorry, it's not a hoover, it's a vacuum cleaner.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Well, I'll tell you about this with the one very, very minor thing first, and then I'll tell you about the vacuum cleaner, yeah? Mm-hmm. But in fact, the vacuum cleaner is not even a nightmare. It's fine. I've bought a nice new vacuum cleaner. Anyway, let me tell you about this other thing. So this is about product design. It doesn't relate in any way to what we've just been talking about, though, which is a shame.
Okay.
And it doesn't relate to technology much either. It's just, this is a very, very minor problem. So I've got this bottle of aftershave moisturiser thing, yeah? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a little moisturiser. And the previous one had a square top, right? And I never really thought about how great that was until they've changed the bottle now to a round top. So when I use it, it's all nice and sort of moisturising my hands, and I've got slippery hands, and I'm putting the top back on. With a round top, I can't put the top back on. It's all slippery. But the square top that it used to have was easy to put on because you could grip the square top.
What's that got to do with the vacuum cleaner?
It's got nothing to. You talked about the vacuum cleaner. You brought that up. This is just a very minor thing that I wanted to tell you about.
Oh,
it's about product design, because some designer obviously thought people's hands are going to be slippery. Let's create a square top, and then some other designer later has thought, oh, let's just do a round one, without thinking about why the first designer made it square in the first place.
So is it for cost, do you think, or is it for?
I think it just looks nice.
Okay.
I think it just looks nice, but it's a shame because it's less functional than the one before it, which I thought more thought had gone into. Right, so I have to tell you about my vacuum cleaner now, don't I? Because you've asked. So I've had for a long time a Henry Hoover, and I've had this like over 20 years. I have no idea how old this Henry Hoover is, because I might have had it 25 years, I think, and I inherited it from a guy that I used to live with, and I don't know how long he had it beforehand.
Wow. And
I've always thought maybe I should get a modern one, something that's new. So in those 25 years, lots of things have been invented. The iPhone has been invented. 3G's been invented. Technology for vacuum cleaners must be off the chart by this point.
Well, hold on a minute. Just one little thing. So you said is this a Henry Hoover?
Henry Hoover, yeah.
Right. I feel like we should explain it. Do you know if Henry Hoovers are international? Because if they're not, I feel like this is worth just explaining for a moment what one of these is.
Oh, it's a vacuum cleaner with a face on it.
But
a cheeky little face.
Exactly. So this, if for whatever reason they don't have these in your country, I encourage you to look up a Henry vacuum cleaner, because it is this.
Oh, they're very common.
They're common in the UK, but do you know what? I don't know if they are elsewhere. I genuinely don't know. Maybe they are, but I don't like to assume. This is this this little vacuum cleaner thing, and it's red with like a black top hat, isn't it? And a smiley face, and where its nose is where the hose for the vacuum cleaner comes out. And it's
and so you pull it along.
Yeah, but
you have the hose and the, I don't even know the terminology for these things. The stick, the stem, the
wand.
The you do the vacuuming
the wand.
with. The wand. Oh, it's a wand, isn't it? That's what they call it.
Wand.
Now, it is a brilliant vacuum cleaner. I've kept it for so long because it's so good, but also it's so basic, and that might be the reason why it's so good. Because I've seen my parents get these fancy Dysons and things, and they've got all this extra functionality. You know, like the Dyson's got the thing where you clip the thing off, then you spin the thing, and then you put a thing on the thing. It's got all that sort of stuff.
But
with all that extra complexity, means that I've seen them break, and the Henry's just been solid. It's just so simple. If you want to get into a corner, whop the wand off, just get into the corner, whop it back on. Whereas some vacuum cleaners, they make that process quite complicated. Like you've got to undo a clip, you've got to pull the thing out, and then you've got to put something else onto it, and then you might have to switch it to a different mode. That's the reason why I've researched a few vacuum cleaners across the years, but I've always thought, I'll stick with the Henry. It's just easier.
Well, they are extremely robust, aren't they, Henrys? They just seem to keep going forever and ever and ever. And it's just made out of plastic, so there's not really anything to break or whatever. It's just this plastic. The one thing I find annoying about Henrys, though, is that, when it looks and seems like all you need to do is just walk along and pull it and it'll follow you.
Yeah. It does.
But I find quite often when you're doing that, it'll topple over.
Maybe.
More often than you'd want.
I think you're being a bit too tough with it.
Yeah.
But it does have shopping trolley wheels, so I mean, it isn't always going in the right direction.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's fine. Anyway, I finally replaced it with a shark.
Hold on a minute. What has a sea creature got to do with vacuuming up dust?
Very large mouth. Yeah, so I've replaced it with a shark. It's upright, but it's cordless, so it's got a battery on it. So that's good, because it means that whenever I get the vacuum cleaner out, I don't have to plug it in. I don't have to worry about where the cord goes, which is never really much of a problem. It's just that it's just one less thing to do, so simpler. However, the vacuum cleaner itself, I mean, it's got more features, it's got more functionality, and so inevitably, with more functionality, as we talked before, comes more complexity. With great functionality comes great complexity. That's a quote. Don't know who said that.
Need that on a t-shirt.
Spiderman, maybe. I think Spiderman said
that. So I've got possibly a bad usability nightmare.
Okay, good.
it's a biggie. This is a biggie, this one.
Oh, God, right.
It affects a lot of people.
Oh, no.
So we've not done a podcast since Google's launched its new icons for G Suite apps.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this has caused a bit of anger, hasn't it?
Yeah. Now, I think most people will be aware of this. But if not, let's just give a little brief background. So Google's decided that it's going to apply new icons to some of its products. So they are what used to be known as G Suite. I can't remember what it's called now. It was called Google Apps G Suite. I think it's called like Google Workspace or something now. Okay. But it includes things like Gmail and what are the other ones?
It's Gmail and Calendar and the Google Drive that are the big ones.
Yes,
those are the apps. Well, the big ones for me anyway, because those are the apps that I've got on my phone.
So I can understand the problem that they were trying to solve by redesigning them, because the old icons for those things, while individually they were perfect, they didn't look like they were from a consistent family. They looked like they probably were designed at different times by different people. So they've obviously decided at some point that they would unify these icons in some way, to bring them together, to make them look like a family of icons. And the problem is that they've gone too far in many people's views, and I would agree, because they now pretty much look the same. They're almost indistinguishable, so you've got no idea what, like, the one for Google Docs, I think it is, looks exactly the same as the one for like Google Video, but except for the video one's got this little tiny bit on the side of it which is barely noticeable.
Oh, right, okay.
If you glance at the icons now, you could be looking at any one of them. It's so difficult.
Yeah, because they've all got the same colour. The shapes are different, but you know, you're normally looking at these things quite quickly. Like, I don't really stare at every icon before I click it. You just kind of have a quick glance, don't you?
What?
And the ones that I get confused between is the Google Drive, which is a triangle.
Yeah.
And then the Google Home, which is like a picture of like an outline of a house, like a home house.
Oh God!
And those things, they're quite similar, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the colours are obviously, it's the same colour scheme for them both.
Very similar.
Yeah, quite frustrating.
Very similar as well as Google Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay, I've not got that.
They're all
one.
very, very, very similar. They're very, very, very similar. The other thing that really annoyed me about this change is, so previously I've been a long-term Android user. And I have Gmail on my phone. And I have Gmail on my phone. And the icon for that used to be an envelope stylized ever so slightly with a red stripe in the shape of an M along the edge of the envelope. And so that was fantastic, because when that icon showed up in my tray at the top of the screen, it was an envelope. I didn't even need to care that it was Gmail. The envelope means email. It means you've got an email. That's instantly recognisable. Brilliant. And what they've replaced that with is an outline of an M.
Yeah.
And I looked at that the first time I got it. And in fact, to be honest, I still do when it pops up. And I think it's a notification. And I think it's a notification from the bank, Monzo.
I was going to say as well that it's very similar to the Monzo logo.
I mean, what you've done there is you've taken something that's not just a strong brand. I mean, it was brilliant because it was a strong brand in terms of recognisable as Gmail, but it also was an envelope. It just meant email. Like, what they had meant email. Like, not just Gmail, that they got the icon for email in general, essentially.
Yeah.
And they've replaced it with something that at best represents, I don't even know. It looks like it looks like someone else's brand, what they've replaced it with.
Yeah. So trying to unify it has just caused unrecognition.
So I'm not very happy with Google at the moment for that. I think that was a bit of a silly mistake on their part, and it's caused me a bit of a nightmare. That tray notification thing is particularly annoying.
Yeah. Would this classify as a nightmare? This seems fairly mild, but I do know it affects quite a lot of people, so maybe I'll let you have it.
Yeah, I think it's a big one. Google's in my bad books for other reasons as well.
Oh God, why?
Because I'm a long-term user of Google Play Music.
Oh no. Okay. So, they've turned that off, haven't they?
Yeah. So it's a bit. Was depending on when you listen to this, because it's shortly going to be shut down. A bit like Spotify, so it's Google's version of Spotify.
Yeah.
And they've decided to unify that into their YouTube brand, so they've replaced it with YouTube Music, which is, as far as I can see, a less feature-rich, worse version of the same thing, which is pretty annoying.
So it came up on my phone and it said Google Play Music is going away. Replace it with YouTube. Press here to start. I pressed it and now I've got YouTube Music instead of Google Play Music. But for me, that's fine. I don't know why this is a problem. You're saying it's got fewer features?
I just find it harder to discover the music that I want to listen to.
Well, the menu's not as good?
Yes.
But there's just as many tracks on there.
I don't know. I don't know if there's more or less. I've not counted.
Well, you better get started. Because I want to know.
I don't even know. So where do I go? Oh, God. I don't even know.
It's obviously causing you some kind of angst. But I wanted to specify what kind of angst. Why is it worse?
Because I don't like change.
Well, there we have it.
I don't know. I just find it harder to find. I don't know. I need to think about it more. But don't like it.
Oh, no. What a shame. Right. Should we end the podcast now? On that note.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is the end of the podcast. If you have seen or used something unusable recently, we want to hear about it. You can email us at podcast@theunusable.com, and we're on Twitter @unusablepodcast. If you've enjoyed this, there's plenty more. In the last episode, we talked about... What did we talk about in the last episode? Hick's Law. We talked about Hick's Law, didn't we? And on YouTube, there's a video of us talking about Hanlon's razor, which also included us talking about Occam's razor.
We also have unusable t-shirts and hoodies available to buy on our website, which is podcast.theunusable.com. Music is by Gold5472. Please subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts so you'll get a notification about the next one. And that's it until next time. Goodbye!
Bye!